Hello, everyone. So, today I'm here with a special guest on the podcast named Rel. She's going to present her story to you all. She comes from a different background than me, and I felt that it was very important for you to hear multiple perspectives of what it's like to be autistic and maybe gain some insight about how conversations are a little bit different between two autistic people compared to neurotypicals. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Rel. Thanks for having me on, Kelsey.
Yeah, sure thing. So, Rel, how do you feel that being autistic and diagnosed later in life has affected you? What was it like for you growing up undiagnosed?
So when I was a kid, I had like really clear symptoms that something was going on. My family wasn't really sure, and I do come from a diverse background. So mental health isn't really taken as seriously as it should be in those communities, even today. But this is back in the 90s. So even
Yeah.
less than. And um I remember my mom being concerned and noticing all the things I would do, like I would tick and stim and just like the classical signs. And she would ask my grandma. My grandma was like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. All her cousins and her uncles do that too. It's fine." So it was kind of normalized in my family, more like let's brush it under the rug.
Yeah. Do you
Mm.
think that was because they might be autistic as well?
Not necessarily. It's more like I did grow up in poverty, so I feel like that's an important piece of this. But when you don't have much of anything in a community like that, all you do have are your neighbors, like the barrio, your neighbors and your friends and your family. All you have is like the social aspect, and that's the most important thing when you don't have much. You need the support, just in order to survive and to like have those connections and everything. And even back in the day, especially back in the day, if you were classified as different or other or even weird, you would lose all of those connections and that support. So I feel like even today, or like with the in different things like anxiety and depression, they don't really talk about that because it's like, oh, get over it. That's which is terrible.
Yeah, it's not
But
helpful.
yeah, or my favorite, go for a walk. Okay. But
So you felt,
yeah, that's
did you ever feel like you were an observer in social situations instead of rather being a part of them?
I mean, absolutely. Even if I was part of like the group, or it was like a cookout, or at school, and I was even with my friends or my family or people close to me, I still felt like I was never really part of the group. I was just an observer, and everyone would interact with each other, and I was just kind of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. It's really hard to get past that feeling sometimes that you're kind of on the outside looking in.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that gave you a lot of anxiety?
um the social aspect, not so much, because I honestly thought when I was younger, before I was diagnosed, I thought everyone was going through what I was going through, and no one talked about it at all. Which you looking back, and that's hilarious because that's not how the world works at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I can relate to
so
that a lot. Like, I thought every time there was a lawnmower, everyone else just had to suffer with me. I didn't realize I was the only one suffering.
yeah, and that's like when you're a kid and you're like, oh, that's the adult thing to do. That you gotta suck it up and be strong, and
Yeah,
everyone else was doing that, so you got to do it too.
yeah. Just deal with it, right? Did you get
Yeah,
that a lot?
yeah, yeah, and then like I would get really upset, and I never knew why, but now I know that I have like with the noise and the lights and all that for me. So, and then once you learn that, you can make yourself a little more comfortable as you go on, and then you realize your emotions and all that, and just it's helpful.
Yeah. So how old were you when you figured it out, when you got your formal diagnosis?
Well, I was suspicious when I turned around 2021, and it took me a few years to gain the courage to actually like research it and look into it. And I took all these online tests, and I feel like at first I really didn't want to accept it because it's like that internalized ableism where
Yeah.
you don't really want to, label yourself as something other. Like, no, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me, Um, I'm just making things up. Everyone has to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I kind of like started accepting it little by little. And then when I was around 24, I started looking for like a psychologist to help see what's going on, because at the time I wasn't really sure what was happening. I just wanted answers, but I knew it could, like, being autistic could be a possibility. And I actually didn't find someone until I was 26, so it took 2 years of finding someone.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. Most people, or almost everyone, they're I would call them up, and as soon as I said it was for like an adult assessment, they're like, "Oh, no, 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 we don't do adults. Sorry."
Yeah. It's really,
Oh,
really tough to be able to even get an assessment. I think a lot of people don't realize how much of a privilege it is even to have a diagnosis.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. You have to find someone, even if you're not diagnosed as a child, because then your parents have to have knowledge of it, and then in America, the health insurance, all the money, right, and all the support you need to get um, diagnosed with anything. And then as an adult, especially when you go into like the neurological, you know, issues, you have to find someone who's like willing and able to help or to see what's going on. And not to mention how expensive it can be, and
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah. I was diagnosed at 26 as well, and I figured it out first from systematic analysis of my life, and then had to cross reference with a bunch of YouTube videos to 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 confirm it. I went to the psychiatrist and I'm like, "Hey, I have all of this. All of this lines up perfectly. I want a formal assessment." And she's like, "Yeah, everything you're describing pretty much sounds like a normal autism experience."
Can I ask, did you have like a binder of stuff? Like all your like
I
if
had
you
a
took any
whole
tests or like information?
yeah, I had like a whole Google Photos album of documented video proof of me stimming as a 2-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Looking back, it should have been really obvious. It's still insane that I went undiagnosed for 26 years when there's literally a video of 2-year-old me jumping on the couch, like slamming my head into it, intentionally rolling off the couch to try to stand on my head or something. Like
Mhm.
this whole it was like an hour-long video of me just stimming. And people, my parents, I guess, just looked at that and are like, "Oh, she's just being a kid."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Like,
thinking. She
it
like,
was so obvious.
she's just being a little hyper right now. She'll calm down. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have any other diagnosis besides autism?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Anxiety, dyslexia, and something else.
ADHD?
ADHD. There you go. That's the one. My memory is terrible, so
Yeah,
it's right there.
yeah. That's quite a lot.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who are diagnosed with autism. They usually have a lot of comorbidities as well. So it's not like
Yeah.
having anxiety or depression, anxiety, um, Alex Rymphemia, Alex Rymphemia.
Alexithymia?
There you go.
Yeah.
Uh, Alexia, like all, it's a lot of comorbidities.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's like people aren't sure what's going on, or you confuse something for something else, like ADHD and auditory processing disorder.
Yeah.
It can People like confuse that all the time, but you know, both have symptoms of each. Like you could be really sensitive to noise, and you can also like not have a great memory and be distracted by what people say.
Yeah. I bet that's really tricky. So you have alexithymia?
Yeah.
What kinds of sensory issues do you deal with, and how does alexithymia affect your life?
Well, I have a auditory processing disorder, and so loud noises or like certain noises drive me crazy. I'll have like anxiety attacks or panic attacks if I'm around something too long, or like I remember the other day I went to Dave and Buster's and the music was abnormally loud, and it was just like way louder than normal. Like the people I went with agreed too, but I just wasn't prepared for it, so I had to leave early.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
Um,
frustrating. Do you frequently carry along earplugs to try to manage some of that?
oh yeah, actually I have the loops.
Yeah, yeah, I have some.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is because I know there's the original price is $20 and then they have like 30 and $40, but I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing. But
Yeah.
I also have the noise canceling headphones, and I sleep with those on. It's a little uncomfortable, but I don't know, for my neck. But I think I got used to it because I kind of have to have them on.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you could hear everything 40% louder and couldn't tune any of it out, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, let's see.
So, one of the biggest factors of alexithymia frequently involves not really being able to know what you're feeling in a particular moment.
Mm.
What is your experience of that like?
Um, so for me, I've noticed that that happens to me like quite a lot. My um, what is it?
So, like most people, they know instantly whenever they feel a certain emotion.
hmm Well, my usually my like factory setting, I guess, is like happy or content. I can never really tell when I'm upset or angry over something, and something will happen and I'm not sure what's going on or how I feel about it at the moment, and then I take 20 minutes and then I start getting upset and like angry, and then I know once I start feeling that, I'm gonna like have like an outburst to whoever's, whoever did whatever made me upset. So I always take 15 to 10 minutes to just calm myself down, like regulate, and then go deal with the issue.
Yeah.
Because I know I can get like, I don't know, I don't want to be disrespectful or like rude or I don't know, or
You
get
don't want to
myself in
hurt
trouble.
someone.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know I'll get really sassy really quick. And I really don't want to do that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to try to algorithmically read your bodily signals to try to figure out what emotion you're feeling?
Oh, absolutely. Like sometimes I won't even realize that I have like an expression on my face, which is also something I have trouble with sometimes. But I guess I'll feel something, and it's not that like you can't feel emotions, it's just you can't feel what's going on at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So I'll I don't know, like let's say someone did something and I get upset. I don't notice that I'm upset, and then I'll like go to the bathroom to try to relax, and I'll see myself in the mirror and I'm clearly upset, like very upset, like my face gets flushed and I'm frowning and all the clear signs, but I don't feel
But
it.
you
And
don't
then I'm
feel
like,
it.
oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm upset. And then I allow myself to be, upset, and then go through the whole cycle where I'm upset and then I relax and then we figure out how to solve the issue
Yeah. Yeah, I can really
without,
relate to that a
hurting anyone's
lot.
feelings.
I thought
Yeah.
I had never experienced anxiety in my entire life because I didn't realize that I had. Like, literally, this year I discovered racing heart and feelings of tension and muscle tension in particular.
Oh my God. Yeah, like I clench my jaw a lot. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that until a couple years ago.
Yeah. You know that can be a stim.
Probably I hate it. I hate,
It's the worst stim. It's
I
terrible
know.
because it's so harmful. It can screw up your teeth. My teeth are literally thinner from how much I stemmed from, suppression, basically. Because
Yeah.
socially, people get really scared when you start flapping your wrists or rocking back and forth.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
And
jaw
then
clenching, they don't see that.
exactly. And then it's like you hold the tension and like all the negative feelings, you're holding it within your body and it stresses your body out. And that is really bad for you, your heart
Yeah,
and
it
your
is.
emotions. And like my teeth are short, and it's just, it can cause a lot of harm. And since we don't feel what's going on, like, I don't know, maybe it's your brain's way of like blocking it since you constantly feel it all the time, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a delayed processing for sure.
Mm.
Sometimes that's useful, like in crisis situations.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Those who deal with trauma or abuse.
yeah,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's got to be processed, and sometimes that can happen, 10 to 20 years later, and that's not ideal. I mean, if you're still suffering from something that happened when you were 5 years old, 20 years later, that's a lot to deal with.
Oh, absolutely. I heard that a lot of autistic people are like traumatized and they don't even know it. And then you realize it
Yeah,
later on and you have to deal with that. And it's like with CPTSD,
yep.
the complex P- PS PTSD.
Yeah, I believe a lot of that is linked to sensory trauma because all of these amplified sensory information can actually wire the brain in a traumatic way for autistic people. So whenever I have to wear earplugs or put on headphones, I am literally protecting myself from more trauma in the brain. And I didn't realize that my whole life. So I would just half the time just try to deal with it, you know? And that
Yeah.
caused a lot of trauma. Doors slamming, it's one of my biggest triggers, and it's really terrible. Do you have any auditory triggers like that?
When like multiple people are talking in a room, oh my God, I have to leave. I can't stay in the room.
You mean at the same time, or?
Yeah, at the same time, like they're having, so it happens to me often at work because I do have a job, but they know, I'm autistic and I do have certain, like they gave me certain supports and stuff, but a lot of the coworkers don't know because I try to keep it on need to know basis, which is like a whole nother topic too, But so people will stand around me and have conversations, which is fine. You do what you need to do, have your conversation, talk about whatever you want to talk about. But then they'll have like multiple groups of people and then they start competing with each other over like their level of loudness. And then they all start getting louder and louder and it's just
Hell,
oh, it's a nightmare.
yeah. So are most of your sensory issues auditory?
No, I also have tactile or like the feeling of touch and stuff
Yeah.
and sight. So sometimes lights will be way too bright for me and it'll make my eyeballs literally feel like little two little like balls of fire in my head.
Yeah. Do you ever get lightning headaches from that?
Oh yeah.
Where it feels like you've
Um
been temporarily struck by lightning for about 3 seconds before it fades?
yeah,
Yeah, it's really
definitely.
painful.
Uh and also migraines run through my family. So
Oh,
yeah, it'll
sorry.
like all compound. Oh, it's okay. But a big one for me, like one of the my main issues too is the tactile one with like the touch. Like there's certain fabrics that just I don't know, it like grosses me out. I
Yeah.
can't. And brushing my teeth is a big one for me.
Oh,
And
really?
it's yeah, I'm not sure if I'm trying to still figure out if it's the toothpaste because I use, Colgate like the adult toothpaste that's really really minty or if it's the toothbrush with the bristles.
Mm-hmm.
But I started using, like the little kid toothbrushes that are really, really soft.
Yeah.
And that helps so much. My dentist was like, "Oh, if it bothers you that much, you can use your finger to brush your teeth." And I was like, I don't think I want to do that."
Yeah.
So I have like a My Little Pony toothbrush.
So you're
Ain't no
telling
shame
me
in
that I
this
have to
game.
deal with more textural issues by shoving my finger on my teeth?
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't sound great, right? Oh,
This sounds like a nightmare.
oh my God. And another one is if my stomach hurts or like there's something physically wrong with me, like where I'm sick or I don't feel well. And you know how people come, like your family or your friends, they come over to try to comfort you and like rub your back and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. I'll literally feel like my skin's on fire. Oof.
Wow, that's really
Mm-mm.
rough to deal with.
Yeah.
So, what about clothing? Do you think that impacts your clothing choices a lot?
Um, Clothing is actually one of like my hyper interests.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's been for like a while now. And I do like fashion. I don't like fast fashion. I'm super against that. But I do like fashion. And I've noticed that there's certain things that, and it's not what you think, right? That I won't wear. So, for example, in the wintertime, I hate with a passion for some reason. You know how you wear your winter coat and you go out and you zip up?
Yeah.
I can't zip up my jacket at all. I don't know what it is. It just drives me crazy.
Maybe the pressure of it pressing against your chest?
Maybe. I'm not really sure. I
Or
just
the
always hated
roughness of the
that.
zipper?
Maybe.
I have a
Um,
similar thing. I hate the feeling of long sleeved shirt being rubbed against your arm from a jacket.
oh yeah.
Oddly specific, but I will straight up wear a short sleeve shirt and a jacket together just so I don't have to feel that. Maybe it's
I mean,
similar to
yeah,
your zipper
yeah,
issues.
you do what you gotta do, you know? Like I love jeans with tears in them
Y-
because I hate things touching the front of my thighs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jeans are a rough topic. Literally.
Yeah.
So what about things like high heels and stuff like that? Did you ever feel like there were certain things you couldn't wear or makeup?
Um, High heels I can wear, but it's not like I won't do it often. I don't know. It's not something I'd like to really do often, but makeup, I can't really do makeup at all
Same.
because it'll I don't know, it bothers my skin.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I wear makeup, I feel like I have mud or poop on my face. It's so triggering. Like
Yeah, it
I
feels like
can't.
heavy.
I want to
Hmm.
just rip my skin off from makeup.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Was there a lot of pressure in your life growing up to wear makeup?
Not really actually, because my mom didn't wear makeup and my grandma was never really into it, so I was pretty good on that front.
Interesting. It's really interesting.
Mm.
So, how do you think growing up undiagnosed affected you? Like, is there anything that you're doing now to accommodate for yourself that you had not done before because you didn't realize how much it was harmful to you?
Uh, yeah, I would probably like give myself like slow down a little because I was always trying to go fast, 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 but it never worked out, and that's what gave me anxiety.
Yeah. Did you
And
did you internalize other people's expectations of you and how you should be?
oh yeah, definitely.
That
I
must be
feel
really
like
rough.
I feel like everyone as they grow up, you start or you stop caring what other people think as much. But for me, it took me a little longer, I think.
Longer.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to like break up out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just part of the anxiety too, and it's I don't know, it's something I'm trying to like work on.
So is your anxiety about what other people are thinking or judging you for, or what is it? Is it related to that?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah, that is tricky. Well, I hope that you'll be able to find solutions that work for you and that help you in your life.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone's going on that journey. It's just ours is just a little different.
Absolutely. It's very different. It's it's like we're all receiving the sensory environment amplified 40% more intensely, and other people just cannot comprehend what that's like.
Yeah.
Like with super loud music, or loud sounds or noises, or just like I feel like the world is just designed in such a loud way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it's unnecessary how loud it is sometimes.
Exactly. It is absolutely unnecessarily loud. So, how do you think that being autistic impacted your ability to connect with people in your community?
I've always been the quiet type and I don't really talk to people much. So it's like that I don't know, that when I was younger they would make me like to force me to talk to people, but as I've gotten older, I kind of it's like non-existent the relationship now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's isolated myself a little bit, but at the same time like dealing with other people is so stressful, you know? So you either deal with the stress of being somewhat isolated or the stress of dealing with new people.
Do you think most of that stress comes from the requirements of masking or from your social anxieties related to how other people will respond?
Probably both. Because masking you have to like control basically your every movement, and I know it's different for everybody, but some people,
Yeah, tone of voice, movements,
yeah, your stims in public and
facial expressions,
your tone of voice.
faking eye contact just so you can get by.
Oh man, like when I when I was younger, they or my family like trained me to like do eye contact, because they wanted me to obviously they knew that there was something wrong, but they wanted me to be passing, right?
Yeah.
So now I kind of just like stare at people.
Oh my
And I
god.
really don't mean to, but I know it freaks people out, but I just kind of like I give them way too much eye contact.
I totally went through that same thing in sixth grade. My mom said, "You gotta show interest by giving people eye contact, Kelsey." And I was like, "Okay." And she didn't tell me to take a break. So
Yeah,
I
so
was
now I
that
just
kid who would just stare 25
uh
seconds, like, no breaks, you know? I was
yeah,
like, well,
it's
I
so
want to show
bad.
interest.
And it like freaks people out. They're like, "What the hell is wrong
Oh,
with this
oh, it
kid?"
did. Those were the worst years of bullying I had ever experienced, both physical and mental. Probably from that eye contact misunderstanding in part. By high school, had subconsciously figured it out enough to, I guess, to be able to get through it. So, how long typically for you when you're making eye contact with someone? How long do you usually look at them
um,
when you're
I'm
masking?
not really sure. Like I try to look at them the whole time we're conversing, and then
The whole
I'll
time?
try to not the whole like I'll look away because I know you're supposed to, and I'll look back, and
Yeah.
then I'll stare, and then they look away, so I'll look away, and then I look back at them.
Yeah, so you kind of copy what they're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no problem. Yeah, masking is tricky because masking, do you think masking is different in different cultures?
I mean, it has to be because different cultures have different rules, and there's different social rules and unwritten rules and all these things. So, like, my mom is Dominican, and a lot of Spanish people are a lot more touchy. Like they'll kiss on the cheeks, and a lot more hugging, whereas like I don't know my my dad's side, they're like a lot more cold because he's mixed. He's black and white, so they're not like some of the families a lot less touchy.
Yeah. So when you're meeting someone in a different culture, how do you know how to mask?
Honestly, I do the same thing for everyone because I can't stress myself out any more than I'm already stressed, you know?
Yeah, I feel
And
that.
it's alienated me sometimes, but you can't win them all. That's like where I've come to in my life, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a small tidbit if you're interested that might help with masking if you ever needed to do it. Because although it takes a lot out of us, it can also be an incredibly important survival tool.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, most people, neurotypical people, typically will look in the eyes for between 3 to 4 seconds and then look away for about 2 seconds.
To know. Yeah.
So, you might need it someday. You're in a meeting with a manager or whatever, you know. There's so much information encoded in body language that as autistic people we can't really see, and it's really
Yeah.
tricky because you don't know how you're going to come across, and I think because of that you can't really spend too much time thinking about it, because if you do you'll just drive yourself crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree.
It's difficult. Do you feel like for you masking has had any downside?
I know it does stress me out a lot, and I can only really relax when I'm not masking.
Yeah.
So, but then it's come to the point where I've done it for so long, so often that I kind of do it all the time, and I feel like I'm unconsciously stressing myself out.
Yep.
So I have to remind myself to relax and just calm down.
I can relate to that a lot. One of my masks was smiling at people. In every single picture, pretty much, there's maybe only a handful of photos of me as a kid not smiling because I didn't realize that it was harmful. It was a mask for me. So even if
Mm.
I was about to cry or about to, have a meltdown or whatever, I would still smile because it had gotten me through so many situations that subconsciously I kept doing that. I had been masking my whole life, even when I was alone, and I was analyzing it before I got diagnosed. I'm like, why am I smiling slightly right now? Like, what's going on? Like, why am I doing this? I was just in total darkness because I didn't realize that.
I completely relate.
What kind of masks are you do you use that have been rather difficult to let go of when you're alone? If you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah. Like I feel like the tone of my voice and how I act sometimes, because I try to act in a way where I don't upset anyone,
Yeah.
and then I feel like as a kid that's a lot more important than as an adult, because you're an adult, you can speak your mind, and it's just something that most people do, so it's not that big of a deal. But
But to us, it
I feel
takes
like,
more energy
yeah, exactly.
because we don't have that intuitive framework to be able to do it. So we have to consciously think about it.
Exactly. And then I try to stim when I'm by myself, but I've gotten so used to not doing it that sometimes I forget. And then I'm like, why am I so anxious right now? What's going on? And then I'm like, oh, I
And
can
then you
relax.
start simming and you feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much. So, how do you think your life would have been different if you had been diagnosed from an earlier age?
I'm not really sure.
I know it's a
I
hard
would
question to
prob-
answer.
I know, right? Um, I would have probably had more support just in general with like social development and all those things. But at the same time, I don't think my family would have been able to give me the adequate support regardless, simply because they just didn't know about it. And
Didn't
even if I
understand it.
was like, yeah, that or diagnosed with it, I don't feel like they would have done anything with that information.
So you don't think it would have changed a whole lot?
Probably not.
It's interesting. What about internally? Do you think that if you'd known from an earlier age that maybe you wouldn't be so hard on yourself or set expectations where there shouldn't have been?
I think so, but I mean, regardless of like whether you're diagnosed or not, I feel like as a kid, if the people around you don't really care or they don't acknowledge it or don't help you out in any way, it wouldn't really matter, at least to me when I was like a baby, because I don't know.
That's an interesting perspective. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
I kind of have the opposite view. I think it would have made a big difference for me because then I wouldn't have been, judging myself for not being able to handle what other people could,
Mm.
especially sensory wise. Like, one of the biggest things I've started doing since I've gotten my diagnosis is accommodating for myself in ways that I wouldn't before. Earplugs, headphones, sunglasses. I mean, I did minimal accommodations when I needed to, but that was more of a last resort. Like, I feel like I'm about to die, get close to a meltdown. I need to put this in right now, or else. Now I'm starting to do it in advance of all of that. So if I hear even the slightest noise that makes me feel slightly anxious, I'll put in earplugs immediately to be able to reduce that and regulate.
That is a good point, though. I didn't think of that.
So you haven't really experienced that from your perspective?
I mean, now that I know, yeah, definitely, I've experienced that. Like, I'll start myself. For me, I generally I call it like I start freaking out,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure it's a panic attack or anxiety attack because my body's stressing out and I don't know what's wrong. So I try to prepare for that as best as I can if I can't stop it or avoid it if I can.
Yeah. You think most of that is from sensory overload?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What kind of accommodations do you think would make your life easier in society or otherwise?
Um, if they didn't put fluorescent lights in every building ever, that would be
Relatable.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Like, I'm also thinking, socially.
Um, I feel like everyone who's different in any type of way always wishes that people were more understanding or accommodating and not in a way that they're forced to like legally. But I'm not really sure. I guess more kind to each other and understanding and not even like at at a certain point I didn't need people knowing, and if they did know, it was like it wasn't a secret, but if they did know, um hold on, I forgot what I was gonna say.
No problem. It happens a lot. To me, at least. I know what it feels
Like,
like.
yeah. um like if they found, they don't have to like understand the differences, they just have to respect it.
Yeah. So if you tell someone these are accommodations that are necessary for my well being, you expect them to uphold that and boundary and listen to you and believe you instead of gaslighting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you experience a lot of that, like when you were a kid? Like, someone's playing music and you say, this is too loud, it hurts my ears, and then they don't believe you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that happened to me all the time. So I think I got so used to it to the point where I do it to myself, and I know I have to stop doing that.
Yeah. It's so difficult. I'm in the same exact situation as you.
Mm.
you get so used to just letting your needs go unmet that when you finally figure it out and realize that you've had a choice in it the whole time, it's like, hey, wait, you're saying that all these times that people told me to just deal with it, don't be so sensitive, all of these harmful things, that I was actually experiencing life in a more intense way than they were this whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really eye opening to be able to see that. And I feel like in that moment was when I truly became my own advocate. Because before that, no one was. I mean, not really. No one else really knew how much I was suffering from sensory overload. And I feel like the sensory issues really present a challenge socially too. Because if you have to leave because things are too loud, if you have auditory processing disorder and you can't hear what someone's telling you, or if you have facial blindness and can't remember someone's face, people all think that's a sign of disrespect.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not. It's not at all. And in fact, I would even say that as autistic people, we probably remember more and care more about other people in that respect.
Absolutely. I feel like the empathy is magnified like 100%,
Yeah.
but we don't like show it in the same ways as neurotypical people do, so they find it like disrespectful or it's just not there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
just.
hey, I kind of have to go.
Okay. Well,
If you
thank you
want to,
so
we can.
much. I really appreciate you willing to be on this episode. Really means a lot. And do you have any last words you'd like to say to the audience? Anything about, like, um, what you wish neurotypical people would understand about autism?
um Let me. I don't know. Like everyone experiences everything differently. So it would be the same thing for autistic people as well. We all have different symptoms and different stims and different experiences. And even though everyone's is different, it's all valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Hmm. And, we're all dealt different hands in life. Some people have like a full flush, and then some people have like three Uno cards and a Joker.
Yeah.
But you got to play with what you got
Yeah.
dealt.
Yeah. I come from a pretty privileged background, so it's been up to me to be able to realize that privilege and to be able to try to learn about other cultures and other perspectives.
Hmm. And I mean, I do appreciate you doing all of that because, some people, especially from privileged backgrounds, they just don't care or they don't like care to learn or empathize with anyone who's different from themselves. So
Yeah.
that's really amazing to do.
Or they deny it.
Oh, yeah,
That's
or
the
that.
worst. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, all right. Well, I really appreciate you meeting to talk with me today. If you would like, I would love to have another segment too if you want to keep talking about your autistic experience, if you have anything you felt like we didn't cover today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had a lot of fun today. And I would have loved to hear more from your perspective. I honestly don't meet many other autistic people, and I know it's because I'm like neurotypical passing, especially being a woman of color, and not people's whole like interpretation of what autism is and all that. So I would love to hear more of your perspective.
I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you being willing to share. Just for all the viewers to know, we have actually never met in person. This was our second phone discussion ever, and you can probably hear from this discussion that autistic people are pretty open.
Yeah, I always try to be, I don't know, open and easygoing because we're under so much stress constantly. Why make other people stressed out? There's no need for that.
Yeah, and maybe someone else is going through what you're going through, and to be able to to meet them at that level of vulnerability can help everyone.
Exactly. It's so nice to hear like people you can relate to.
It's so nice to not have to have a translation process when I'm talking to you. I can just speak my mind and you understand it inherently without me needing to change it in any way.
Exactly. Like, don't you hate it when people get offended? Uh, like I'm not talking about like, oh, let's say 20 slurs. No, like they think you're insulting them
It's like, why did you say it like that? Like, what?
yeah.
What did I say? How did I say it? What are you
A,
talking about?
a common one for me is I'll literally say exactly what like the truth, like what exactly happened, and they'll be
Yes.
like, "How could you?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's literally what happened."
Oh, yeah. People say they want to hear the truth, but they really don't. People want to hear lies, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
it can be really frustrating to deal with when you tell the truth in a society of lies.
Oh, for sure. And then you can't tell like all the lies. It has to be very specific ones. And it's just come on, guys, make up your mind.
Yeah, and then you have to try to figure out, okay, wait, is this the situation where we're going to lie? Or is the one where we're going to tell the truth? Or, like, wait, which path do we follow here? Trying to.
Exactly. So
It's difficult
confusing.
and confusing, yeah. Was there anything else you'd like to mention, Rel?
Um, I would just like to say that no matter, what you identify as or, like sexual orientation or if what disability you have or like anything that's considered, not typical, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you and you're fine just the way you are. Sometimes, you see things a little differently or, you experience things differently or I don't know, you look different. It doesn't matter. There's literally nothing wrong with you. Everything is made up. Time doesn't exist. You are who you are, and you should embrace who you are because who you are is amazing.
I love it. That's beautifully said. Beautifully, beautifully said. Yeah, autism is not a disease, it is not an illness, it's a different brain wiring, like having a different operating system, and that's okay.
Or like, and it does not need to be cured.
It does
Okay,
not need to be cured. If
it's
someone tells
literally
you they
who
can
you
cure
are. Yeah,
autism, walk away. Like, I
yeah.
mean, there's so many harmful therapies out there. It's ridiculous.
I know. It's
And all of
crazy.
them are targeted towards making people appear to be normal rather than actually helping with the issues.
I know, and then it's just not even that bad. Like you can have a little bit of accommodation, and everything would be fine. Even people on level support 3,
Yeah.
right? You just give them a little accommodation or what they need and it'll be fine. People are people. Just treat everyone like a person and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of times people get threatened so much by people who are different from them because they see the aspects of themselves in other people that they don't want to see, and that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, I think that's so true, especially like in today's climate, whether it be political or like, just anything. Any topic is controversial now, which is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
I
So
guess it is what it is, right?
yeah, so they try to knock other people down socially so they can gain bonus social points. It's kind of a stupid game, but it's one that we have to play in this society.
it's it's like remember that one have you ever seen that one show Whose Line Is It Anyway? The game the game isn't real and the all the points are fake.
Yeah, it's a bit like
That's
that.
exactly, yeah.
It's a bit like that. Well, thank you so much, Rill. Really appreciate you meeting today. And I would absolutely love to have more crossover episodes like this in the future. Feel free to tell me your YouTube channel either on chat here or I'll definitely link it to the podcast as well. And I'll be sending you the audio so you can post it if you want.
Sure, yeah. Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. This was really great. Also, super insightful. It's always good to hear different perspectives. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. It really means a lot.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Anytime.